thousands of mourners, and I mean thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of mourners gathered to pay their respects to Pelé, who is lying in state at the ground of his former club, Santos. There will be a procession through the streets of Santos as well to a private family burial today. That's going to happen actually in about a couple of hours' time. They're going to move the body, but they are, and I think it's very good, they are giving the people the opportunity to queue up and see the great man. Before we talk about FIFA President Gianni Infantino, I do want to sort of obviously, let's quickly just talk about sort of Pelé as well. I mean, just a genius. And it's weird because obviously a lot of young people, and rightly so, will always talk about Messi, Ronaldo. If you're of a certain age, it'll be Zidane, Ronaldo, R9 Ronaldo. And I love it because there's a YouTube video now doing the rounds and it's got hundreds of millions of views now. And it's just showing, reminding people.
I did it first.
Yeah, was it you that put it together?
No, Pelé did it first.
Yeah,
you know,
that's exactly what it is. It's literally showing all your favourite tricks and skills from all these players. He did it first. And I think it's so good to remind people who obviously aren't at the age where they remember him, will know about the 3 World Cups and the 1,000+ goals, but it's good that they're reminded of just how special this man was on the football pitch, Kev.
It was not only special, he was the king. He was the king of football. When I was young growing up, you know, the impact he had on me and that Brazilian team had on me was incredible. Made me think, you know, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, same colour.
Yep.
To know that very few footballers transcend football, but he was up there. There's a special photos of him, Muhammad Ali, you know, the Michael Jordans. There's a few who sit at the very top of sportsmen who transcend the sport, and Pelé was one of those guys who, wherever he went in the world, he was recognisable. And what a fantastic man and footballer he was. And real sad to see him go. It
really is that famous picture of him with 3 World Cups. I think I tweeted it actually. When everyone was saying Messi was the GOAT, I was like, 1 second, hold your horses a bit here. This is 3 World Cups. And just to think of that as well, 3 World Cups, when you think of, again, some of the best players we've ever seen won 1 World Cup. Some never even got that opportunity. Some never got to a final. And here we are, Pelé, 3 World Cups. Wow.
Yeah, and there was a lovely story, I think it was Tim Vickery telling us last week that when he was a young boy, he was watching how devastated his dad was at Brazil crashing out of a World Cup. And I think he was only 8 or 9 years of age. And he said, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll win the World Cup for Brazil." And of course he did as a 17-year-old, and then went on to win it twice more than 1,000 career goals, 77 of them in that famous yellow shirt. And I think the fact we're even having this debate, because football is very present, isn't it? You always think that the players that you grew up watching are the best of all time. The fact that Messi's just won his World Cup and still we're debating, is he better than Pelé? I think that says all you need to know.
Indeed. Let's quickly talk about the FIFA president then, Gianni Infantino, who he's caused a stir. It's funny because every time his picture was actually plastered during every game at the World Cup, the boos that rang out, right? And he doesn't help himself. A couple of things he's done recently. One thing which just annoyed me, and it's just, I actually find it quite sickening, if I'm honest with you. Next to sort of Pelé's sort of casket, where it's an open casket as well, he's taken a selfie with someone.
Incredible.
I'm like, there's certain things you just, like, no one needs to tell you not to do it, you just don't do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're at that high of a stature as well. You're talking the FIFA president, the highest sort of ranking in football, and that's kind of what you do. And it's just, it's not all about you, sir.
It's distasteful as far as I'm concerned. Infantino, I think, is since he's got into the position, I think he's embarrassed himself quite a bit. And this is the latest of a long line as far as I'm concerned. You know, taking selfies beside Pelé, you know, open casket is the lowest of the low as far as I'm concerned. And the quicker he's gone, the better, mate.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going anywhere though, is he? Because nobody ever stands in opposition against him. He's just allowed to continue. I mean, I was at the press conference that he gave at the start of the World Cup. It was
the infamous press conference.
Utterly baffling. You know, just ridiculous statement after ridiculous statement. You're right, he did try and make the tournament all about him. It wouldn't surprise me. In fact, someone suggested to me that there was a contractual obligation that he had to be shown on television, you know, after a certain time of every game. And the fact that he's turned up, you know, trying to pay his respects to Pelé when thousands of others are doing the same, and he whips out his camera phone. I mean, I think distasteful's putting it to light. I think it's disgusting, to be honest.
Yeah, one thing he's also said, which is, I guess, look, irks some people. Some people have said okay, and I'm certainly not on the okay bandwagon here, is he stated that FIFA will ask every country in the world to name a stadium after Pelé. And look, I mean, you give Pele's tributes, and I think every sort of Premier League club has, right? I mean, and clubs will continue to do so as well, just because of the stature of the great man. But asking every club in the country, every club in the world, every country in the world to find a stadium to name it after Pelé, it's just
trying to court public favour there.
It's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen. And again, that's another demand from Infantino, isn't it? It's a demand from him. It's not going to happen. It's an embarrassment. Let's be honest. This is embarrassing.
Do you think it will happen? I know it's probably a stupid question, but do you think some clubs will do something?
It wouldn't surprise me if the stadium in Santos
that makes sense.
Is named after him, much like we've seen with Maradona and Napoli. That makes sense. That's a classy tribute.
Yeah.
But I think Infantino, he's just a classless character, isn't he?
Whilst we're on the Pelé conversation, let's get rid of Infantino for a second. I don't even want to talk about the man right now. While we are on the Pelé conversation, is he the greatest? I want to really rile up some people.
For me, he is. For me, he is. For me, obviously, there's modern day players like your Messi's, Ronaldo. They've been battling. Messi winning the World Cup is probably, people say, right, he's taken that mantle, but
he's now done it, right? Because he won the World Cup. That was the one thing, wasn't
exactly. But as you said, Pele's got 3. Just greedy. Just greedy. Yeah, he's got 3 of them.
Yeah.
So it's such a special guy, and it's not just football; it's life. He transcends the sport. Iconic.
Yeah, I know you're a huge Messi fan, and rightly so. I mean, you're not the only one. There's millions around the world. Is Messi number one for you, just based on club football? Club domination, the goals over here in Europe?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, to be honest. I have to say Messi blew my mind in Qatar. I was at 4 or 5 of the Argentina games, including that final, which I'm still emotionally recovering from. So, I think he'll always have a special place for me as a result of that. But you can't argue with the numbers with Pelé, and the phrase that Kev has used there is absolutely spot on. He's transcended football, transcended sport probably. Even people who don't know about sport know Pelé, and there aren't too many footballers of whom you can say that.
You're right. There's some sports stars, Ali, Jordan, Schumacher, that you're known just for your name as opposed to the sport as well. I will just quickly chuck in. I always do it. I've got to do it all the time. It's part of the contract. R9 Ronaldo. He's my greatest player that I've ever seen in my life.
Witnessed, yeah. Yeah, he's special.
Phenomenal player, it really is. Just to confirm as well, in a few moments, Pelé's casket will be making its way through the streets of Brazil, and it will be a private family burial as well. But I think it's fantastic that everyone see the great man one more time in this open casket in Santos.